Salvete Spectatores. Today we are going to take a look at Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. Now we all know and love Vampire Bloodlines.
Lord! Oh, sweet Jesus!
And I myself can't wait to play Bloodlines 2, which is currently being developed by the people who brought us Little Orpheus, a jump'n'run that I actually really enjoyed. But while we are waiting for this jump'n'run adaptation of Vampire Bloodlines, it's worth to take a look at Bloodlines' predecessor, Redemption. Redemption is kinda like that weird uncle that goes on racist tirades at the Thanksgiving table, if he was also doing crack cocaine.
Aid from a gypsy? Can such a thing be godly? 3 nights' time may be too late.
So be it. Wilhelm, take Christoph to the Jewish quarter this night.
Now that looks a lot more interesting than any of that Mario bullshit. In Vampire Redemption you play as the young crusader
Christoph Rumble.
who, after being wounded in the fight against heathens,
Maakt Rassismus gegen Ausländer. Ich möchte das bitte von euch, dass das Video ich stelle jetzt gleich in YouTube. Ich möchte, dass der geteilt wird. Bitte.
is recovering in a hospital in Prague. It is here that he meets the nun Aneska and our story kicks off.
Mother Mary.
Nay, my lord. Sister Aneska.
Like any man would, Christoph instantly falls in love with the young woman and goes off terrorizing gypsies for her.
Hello, young one. What is it you desire?
Out, blaspheming wretch! Taste the steel of righteousness!
However, Christoph gets embraced and turned into a bruiser in a Tinder date gone wrong.
Thou art helpless in my hands as a naked babe.
Nay! Oh, nay!
Bruiser in medieval times weren't the cringe tankies with daddy issues we know and love yet.
If you have LGBTQ friends, doesn't mean that you're not homophobic or biphobic or transphobic.
But actually had a higher goal, namely re-establishing Carthage in medieval Prague and creating harmony between humans and vampires. While Christoph is out there making the world a better place, Aneska gets more and more concerned about him, because Christoph keeps getting rougher during their roleplay sessions.
Release me!
Never!
Like any sane person would, Aneska thinks it's a good idea to ask this guy to help her fix Christoph. This guy, coincidentally, also wants to become a god and enslave all of humanity. So it becomes the game's goal to rescue Aneska and stop Vukotlak. But after your first confrontation with him, Christoph gets knocked out until the year 1999, when he wakes up in London. Now if you, like me, don't feel the desire to reunite with Aneska after this line,
Oh, fair Aneska, what have they done to thee?
All manner of delightful things. I am thoroughly defiled now.
don't be afraid, there's also a massive bromance going on. Wilhelm, unlike Aneska, is always there for Christoph. In the beginning he is a mentor for Christoph, however they quickly become best friends, and Wilhelm saves Christoph when he reawakens in modern times. Christoph's travels lead him to all kind of interesting places. It isn't just rat-infested mines, though there actually is some of that.
Wild dogs? Nay, rats!
Instead, there's quite a bit of variety that is actually impressive for this kind of game. You will visit a monastery where all the monks are blood banks for a cult of corpse-like looking vampires, a besieged castle, a science lab in modern-day London, a temple of Set underneath a bordello, and finally, a fetish flesh cathedral in New York.
I am damned.
Jesus Christ, Aneska, can you get any hotter? For this reason alone it is worth to take a look at Redemption. There also are great many vampire clans displayed that don't show up in Bloodlines, making it worth looking into for anybody who's interested in this universe. Last but not least, you cannot understate the amount of love that was poured into this game. You can see it in the manual that features a short story about how Christoph became a knight. And yes, it has pictures. You can see it in the writing.
I'll gladly travel with you, Christoph, and fight by your side, and do whatever I can for you.
Oh, just what we need. Some moistened Toreador tart. This is a gents club. Bruiser only.
In the red-based economy, in every racist and problematic remark by Christoph. And it is actually amazing that a team this small was able to pull off a game like this. However, because of this, the game, even after being delayed, has quite a lot of flaws. Some levels are just pure cancer. like this Nosferatu sewer level. Yes, this game has one too. The Nosferatu just keep going invisible, leaving my AI companions completely helpless. Serena's AI also just refused to work completely on this level. Some stuff just doesn't work. I was unable to get past this obstacle and kinda had to cheese my way through it. You can also see just how annoying it is to handle the group. And of course, there's the combat. The combat largely consists out of right-clicking hordes of enemies to death, and using the same powers over and over again. The only fun part about the combat was that later on you become super overpowered. I've read in some forums that Christoph falls off quite a bit later in the game and is a lot weaker than the other members of his group. This, however, wasn't my experience at all. During my playthrough, Christoph became an all-powerful blood mage that could one-shot almost all enemies with his spells at almost no cost. And if he ever was at the risk of running dry, he could just completely replenish his blood supply with another ranged spell. The group meanwhile became really useless and was often more of a hindrance because they decided to blow themselves up or started sucking off Christoph mid-fight. They only retained some use as meat shields, until I found out that I could conjure up to 4 Skellimans at a time at almost no cost. The combat in this game is almost as bad as in Vampire Bloodlines. But unlike in that game, in Redemption the combat takes up a much bigger role, making it quite unfun to replay it. Probably because of that, Redemption is largely forgotten today, whilst Bloodlines is still fondly remembered by anyone who ever touched it. But Redemption is definitely worth to play at least once, to experience the insane story of Christoph Romjöld, the crusader turned vampire, who chased down his one true love over the span of 1,000 years. And of course, for all the wacky and kinky stuff.